All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We've got a lot to go over in a short amount of time, so to get right into it, Israel-Hamas ceasefire held up over renewed debate over the Philadelphia security corridor. Of course, we talked about this just yesterday. It was seeming to be like there was going to be peace and that everything was handled, but now it is being held up. I thought this right away. I said that kind of seemed like it was just too easy, right? They were even talking about debating about who was going to get credit for it rather than the actual thing itself. Now, there is, of course, hopes of ceasefire and hostage exchange going away. The whole thing that was confirmed by the U.S. and Qatar on Wednesday appeared to be quelled by the time Americans were waking up on Thursday morning. Quote, the terrorist organization Hamas repeatedly raised new demands at the last minute, even though everything has been agreed upon with the mediators, including the U.S. Spokesman for the Prime Minister Omer Dostri said, echoing comments made by Netanyahu in which he accused Hamas of creating a last-minute crisis and backing out of terms negotiated by the mediators. So as far as this goes, it looked like it was all going to be rainbows and sunshine. I mean, not all rainbows and sunshine because the whole thing is absolutely nightmarish on both sides. But right now, it seems like it is going to go south. As far as this hostage situation, it has been now how many months? I mean, we're going on a very long time that all of these people have either been in this country, they're trying to trade. They're trying to have a ton of different things done all at once. There is a huge debate on Twitter and on X about, which side that they're supporting throughout all of this. There's accusations flying back and forth that if you support the Israel side, you're this. If you support this side, you're this. It's very crazy, and it's mostly young versus old on this, and it really is. We are divided on almost every level, from color to age, from party, everything. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about everything else. We've got, of course, a rocket breaking up and blowing up, or what some other people think that maybe it wasn't a rocket at all. Again, we'll talk about the SpaceX rocket that actually came down to Earth. We'll show you that. It absolutely made a stunning display and so much more. So we'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right. So, first of all of this is incredibly, incredibly bad for the world because all of the Middle East being in this constant fight, it has caused many, many wars, and obviously many of us are praying that it doesn't happen again or that this doesn't blow up into something more than just the Middle East. I mean, these are wars that have been going on for as long as we've, been around, and I don't think that there's ever going to be true peace. But what they're looking for right now is to actually stop all of this, the back and forth between mainly these two countries. One thing I want to point out, too, is that I don't believe that the Middle East is actually going to be the main cause of World War III. The World War III that I believe is going to happen, which some people really think that there's not going to be one, I think it will actually be caused by other countries, by China and by North Korea, or a combination of all of them, all of the our adversaries. But I think that, North Korea is going to trigger it more than this. I think that a lot of this is most likely, hopefully, going to be worked out. But who knows? I don't have false hope. A lot of people are very hopeful that a new prez is going to come in and fix everything. I do believe the Don is capable, but I honestly think that he is almost being set up to fail. Like, there's going to be a lot of things like that. I think that there's a lot of tricks up a lot of people's sleeves to honestly just make a lot of trouble for everybody in the next 4 years, just as there was trouble for the 4 years before that. It's like they almost set up the next president or the opposite party every single time they switch for trouble or for problems. I just don't get it. And we tout ourselves as an advanced civilization, but really we are just kind of at step one as far as human beings go. We just constantly take each other's lives. We constantly do the most horrid things. It's pretty unbelievable. And we are divided. We can't agree on a single thing. As far as this goes, there's tons more to today's show. Let's get into the next story, which is absolutely even crazier. South Korean president, as you guys know, if you've watched our show or been watching what's happening, not too many news stations are talking about this, surprisingly enough. The South Korean president was detained and took out of the actual castle. Let's bring in my co/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on? How are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugel fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, first of all, South Korea is in their own situation. Before this, in the months coming up to this, we talked about how North Korea blew up the roads in between the countries. They severed everything. They destroyed all of their huge, sometimes 150 feet monuments that were dedicated to the reunification of North and South Korea, basically saying like, F you, we're never reunifying, we're going to take you out, or you're going to be destroyed. We're not your family anymore. We're not your relatives. And then leading up to this, of course, you had Yoon, the president, who was in good graces in the entire world. He was traveling with the U.S. and Japan and other countries. He was visiting places. Everything was fine. There was no problems from any other countries calling him crazy, wacko, whatever. One day, about a month ago, he does a martial law in the middle of the night, or in our day, in the middle of their night, and it lasts a matter of hours before the rest of the lawmakers in his country basically all voted to overturn it and undo it. In that time period, he had military outside of the presidential palace, keeping lawmakers from coming in or in whatever their equivalent of wherever they were doing this. And then it turned into this big deal where he says essentially that the left side in their country, or what do they call do they have a left and a right there? I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, but it's not called that, right? Dex, do you know?
Well, yeah, I think they consider him to be on the conservative side. I don't know how they term the opposite side, but yeah, it's...
I don't want to call it liberal versus conservative, but I mean, it's kind of like that. And then I guess what we would closely relate as the liberal side, I guess, is empathetic to North Korea. And that's what he's claiming. He's saying that there are people that are close or even connected with North Korea that are trying to impeach people on his side and in his staff. And he says there's something nefarious going on. Then all of a sudden, he has to basically lock down the people that are loyal to him. He's got security and military that are loyal to him outside of the presidential palace or wherever he's staying, and they were protecting him. And the other side was trying to come in, and they were trying to do everything legally to go in and grab the president. Well, they finally did. They ended up detaining him. Now he is where, Dex?
Oh, yeah, they've moved him right there in those blue buildings, the Seoul Detention Center. So he has been silent. They've been trying to question him. They've tried to question him twice. He petitioned the court there to consider his release, questioning the validity of the detention warrant that they have issued. Now, originally, they had detained him, as we reported, and they brought him into the, I can't remember what the agency they call it, but it's like an it's a group about Anti-corruption is the agency, is the name of it. Sorry, they've taken him in there, but now they've literally put him into a detention facility. So the president of South Korea is behind bars, literally speaking, a sitting president who obviously now has since been impeached, but still was the sitting president who was now arrested in jail. And a lot of people are suggesting that he's basically fighting, against outside influences in the country that are either pro North Korea or even pro China, for that matter, which is probably more realistic.
Yeah, and I forgot that. The other part is, even above the North Korean empathetic people on the other side, he's talking about that China is involved in this, which I believe. I think that's totally what's going on. And it's so suspicious that no one has really talked about this. Now, news has basically covered it. Some of the biggest articles we've shared are from actual, local news stations from around the country. This is a huge deal. What I haven't seen, and I tried looking this up, if you guys have watched any of these press conferences where the press asks about this, I have not seen any clips, but I've also been dealing with, I have multiple surgeries in the next month in my mouth. I've got oral surgery. I was just at my second appointment today, consulting for the next surgery. And so I haven't been watching all of the press conferences that I normally watch. Usually when there's something that's really not being talked about, there's at least still reporters like really grilling about it. Like, what's going on with this? Have you seen a statement from, JB or Biden about like what's going on? Like, they just met up not too long ago. Like, why is there no comments on like what is happening to the current president? Like, if this was reversed, if JB was taken into custody and was in a New York jail, the entire world would be talking about it. This, to me, really seems like it's the back page of the news when this is a major nation. This is a nation that we are allied with. Why aren't people freaking out about this? Is it because our side is kind of supporting this? Like, they're saying, oh, yeah, he went off the deep end. He declared martial law. He's crazy. But what if there was something so nefarious? I think he did it on purpose. Like, I think he did it there was something happening. I don't think you would do that for no reason. You get what I'm saying, Dex? Like, it just seems really off with where this is in priority of how they're covering it.
Oh yeah, but look, we sent Blinken, or somebody was just there like last week. One of the military people was there, and that's when Kim fired the first missile of the year and the first in many days. So it's like we're acting like nothing's really happening. We just go over there and meet with the acting interim president now. It's treated like nobody should pay attention to it. Let's brush that one up under the rug.
Which makes me think that there's somebody involved that makes you think, like, who's on the payroll here that is not looking at this, that's just kind of letting this fly? Has the Donald said anything about this? Has he actually made comments about this? That's what I'm curious about. Has anybody heard that? I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I would love to know. Why? This is a major country. This is also the country that would be directly at war with North Korea, which North Korea is a big thing on our docket. Why? Unless there are folks inside of our country, inside of our gov, that are also on China's side, and they're being paid to basically look the other way. Like Blinken going to South Korea and it not making a giant deal about why the president is freaking detained. That to me is super, super weird. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. By the way, thank you, Lori Gittins and Carlton Sutton, Lord McCormick, and Watching and Waiting, Jonathan Fish. Thomas, thank you. I appreciate you. Trina Roque. We've got Carol, thank you this month. Olga Turan, Inquiring Minds, Stephanie Cook, and Neil Nelson. Thank you as well. Stephen Click and Shauna May. Nice to see all of you this month. I appreciate it. All right, and then Dex, so this crazy video surrounding this, if you haven't seen this, I will say this. Thanksgiving, many, many years ago, at about 6 in the morning, this is a perfect video of exactly what I saw. And I tried to describe it to people and how the colors were and I don't think there's been a better video of this kind of thing happening until last night or when this happened. This is exactly what I saw back then. And I think about it, local news in Seattle covered it as space junk. But, I mean, with the amount and the actual, amount of stuff, it had to be something big. Now, I wonder why nobody's questioning, like, if there's any foul play here, that this wasn't just something went wrong. Dex, as far as this Starship, they say experienced a rapid, unscheduled disassembly. That's engineer speak for it blew up.
Exactly. That's exactly how they talk. They couldn't just say, "Hey, sorry, our rocket up there blew up." So technically, the rocket took off. This was a test flight, another test mission. The Starship took off with the giant booster rocket underneath it. The booster rocket separated and came back down and landed like it's supposed to in the chopsticks. So that was a success. The other part of the Starship that was up in orbit that was supposed to be re-entering, and I guess that's when it may have failed, was when it was re-entering. I'm not 100% certain, but it obviously failed and they had a problem, and I guess they will learn from it. And it is a test. It's not a regular operation. This was a test, one of the numerous tests that they've been launching with this. So yes, it's a failure, and it's a rapid unscheduled disassembly, as they call it. If we said that about vehicles or other things around us, would we describe it that way? Like, a rapid deceleration into
into
a standing object,
a bricked walled object or something.
Yeah, it's asinine in my opinion, but whatever. I think it stems from those geeky NASA scientists that used to say that kind of stuff. They all do it.
So and what's craziest about this is it always looks like it's going to hit somewhere, but then it just keeps going. That's how I described the other thing. I told you my sister, who is 10 years older than me, at the time was like partying with her friends. I was like maybe 12 or 13. Maybe I was 14 or 15. I was probably 14 or 15. This is back in the 2000s, between 2000 and 2010. I want to say it was before my first. So it was probably 2003, 2004, something like that. And it was Thanksgiving morning, and I remember my sister came home. She was partying all night with her friends, and she came to my mom's house, and I think they took something at the club or something. They were already like totally hyped up. And I woke up, and I wanted to hang out with, the cool older sister and her friends, and I'm hanging out in the living room at 6:30 in the morning. They're all hyped up like it was they just woke up or something. And all of a sudden, somebody says something. We go outside, and it literally is going across the sky. This is exactly what I saw. I mean, it looks exactly like it. All of the different colors. And when you go back to that, they had no real description of what the hell that was on that Thanksgiving morning. It was reported. A lot of people in Seattle saw it, and it looked like it was going to land. And my sister was so freaked out. Plus, I think she was, to be honest, I don't want to put her on blast, but I think she was on shrooms. And she thought the world was going to end. So she ended up waking up my mom's entire apartment building saying, "The world's going to end. The world's going to end." Everybody comes out on their decks, and they can't see it. So my mom, I think, ended up getting like 50 complaints. But for anybody that did see it, it really did look like the end of the world. When you see this in person, if you hear all the people talking about it, they are like, "Oh my gosh." Because it looks like it's constantly going to hit the horizon and land, and you can't tell how far it is. When you see this in person, it looks like it's going to hit right over the hill. And then in your brain, watching all the movies you have, think it's going to have a blast, and all of a sudden it's going to come your way. Now, mind you, now people see this all the time, but before the internet, or before a lot of, where we could have instant everything, this kind of thing, it was much harder to get on video. You had flip phones at best back then. You just didn't have video like this. So when we saw this the first time, it was absolutely nuts. I could see somebody seeing this in person and thinking, well, the one woman says, "Are we going to die?" And it's so funny because that's what my sister did, only on, steroids. I have seen this exact same thing. And now I think that was a rocket. I think that was a ship that I saw break up, not some sort of stupid satellite, because of how big it was. It matched the size of this. And all of the crazy colors, that must have been the jet fuel that was all of those crazy colors, right? So it makes me think, would a satellite do that same thing? Would a satellite have all of those different colors? It could. The heat in the atmosphere at different temperatures, metal turns different colors. So it technically could have been a satellite, but it was so big. It was as big as this, if not bigger. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Did you see this in person? Let us know. And if you have video of it, send it to us at marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo. All right, and then let's see here. We have, we're going to be talking about, T-Man's son says that there's fairly definitive evidence of aliens, and Elon Musk should look into it. Before we do, I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out EMP Shield if you haven't already. This device will protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, and boats against an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse attack from any of our adversaries, North Korea, Iran, China, Russia, whoever ends up, if they do try to do this, then you want to have your car protected. That way you can get out to bug out or get home to bug in, which most of you are. Again, we did a survey yesterday, and it looks like most of you are going to camp it out and try to survive. But as far as this goes, the best part, too, is it is actually going to also protect you against a solar event. So if the sun goes off, we are at solar maximum right now. If something happens, you are also protected from that. It's very easy to put in, less than 10 minutes, red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, and green to ground. You're done. You don't need a mechanic, nobody handy. You can do this yourself, I promise you. Also, again, make sure to go check it out. It's $50 off per device, and that stacks on top of all of the sales. So make sure to go look, because I believe there are going to be a ton coming up here. marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/EMP, code MARF. And also remember to go to our website and sign up for our notifications, because things are getting really rocky in the next 4 days. Who knows what's about to happen? But yeah, I would highly recommend this for also generators, your home. There's all sorts of other devices they make, so check those out as well. All right, and then Trump Jr. says that there's fairly definitive evidence of aliens, and Elon Musk should look into it. So, first of all, T-Man's son saying this is kind of like, wait a second. I'm surprised that certain medias aren't going after them, and they might already have been, for him saying this. Because I'm surprised they're not accusing him of going, oh, why? Did your dad tell you something he wasn't supposed to? Does Junior have any kind of clearance? I know that they have to have a certain kind of clearance to go some places with their dad, but does he have actual, security clearance or top secret security clearance? And how would he know this?
Well, I don't think he has it. I didn't even realize he was this much into it. They're calling him alien obsessed. That's the descriptor they put before his name. But he believes there's convincing evidence that extraterrestrial beings are headed for Earth. That's interesting. Headed for Earth, not here, not in another dimension and dimension hopping, but headed for Earth. So, but apparently, I guess they try to, he talks a lot about Louis Elizondo, who we've covered here before. I know a lot of people have scoffed at him. Some believe him, some don't, etc. But apparently he's really into this, and he's been pushing a lot, and now they're making more hay about it, and the fact that he thinks, Elon should be looking into it, which is interesting, because Elon's like, hey, I've got more stuff in space than anybody, and if I'd have seen anything, or if there was something there to see, I would have seen it, and I haven't seen it. And that's what he said. I'm paraphrasing, but it's basically like that. And
yeah,
Elon
but how sarcastic is he? Like,
yeah, that's
who's going to
true.
believe the guy they accuse of being an alien? Like,
and if he did know, would he even bother telling everybody, or would he keep it secret if he's supposed to? Maybe that's part of his contract.
Yeah, he's got so many different contracts with NASA and whatever else. He would be under every single kind of, NDA possible if he did see it. Oh, if I did see it, I would totally tell you guys. I would just blurt it out. I would totally ruin all of my NASA contracts and every single government contract I have to tell you guys, because I just believe you guys need the truth. And then Alien Obsessed Donald believes there's a convincing evidence of extraterrestrials. And this is the funniest thing. He has hung out with Elon because Elon's hanging out with his dad. Why didn't he just do this on one of the events where he's with Elon? Why didn't he just tell him directly? He has to tell him from Costco Putin. I don't get it, but whatever. And then we have NATO Norwegian F-35s deployed after Russian aircraft entered Polish airspace. So we always cover all of the intrusions, and these intrusions can always turn into something more, especially if somebody makes a mistake. 2 Norwegian F-35s stationed at Poland were deployed on Wednesday in response to a massive number of airborne Russian aircraft entering Polish airspace. NATO's Air Command said on Thursday, and it said it was the first time Norway's F-35s have been used in Polish airspace after they were sent there last December. So they didn't tell us much more than a massive number of airborne Russian aircraft. If it was a massive number, I don't know what they were going to do with just 2 F-35s, but it kind of makes you wonder. Dex, we've heard so much about Poland, specifically Poland, and then Polish Prime Minister is actually the one who just spoke on Putin possibly trying to sabotage a ton of planes in the U.S., cargo planes or even commercial planes, that he's going to possibly put explosives or, all of this talk about them sabotaging our jets and our planes. And then the next day you have this, massive number of airborne Russian aircraft going to their country. I wonder if that's kind of their answer.
Yeah, and look, when the missiles have gone, like we've reported when they've flown missiles and they cross over portions of Poland and they've scrambled jets before. We've covered that quite a bit in the past, and I think it even happened a couple of days ago or the day before this. But what they're calling this is aircraft. Now, what we don't know is what kind of aircraft it was. We don't know if it's manned aircraft, if it was drone aircraft. I don't think it would be considered missiles if it was an aircraft, but it could potentially have been drones. But the fact that this is, like you said, it's like they've been talking and hyping up this whole aircraft scenario. Of course, there's always the talk of Russia striking or hitting Poland. And you got to imagine if you're looking at a radar and you're Poland and you see a whole bunch of aircraft, whatever size they may be, heading into your country or heading to your border or even crossing it, you're going to have to react. You're not just going to sit back and say, it's just Russia being Russia. No, you don't know when is the actual event, if there is going to be one. So you would have to scramble them. And that's, it is it's the exact same thing that China does to Taiwan, and normalizing rolling up their ships, normalizing rolling up their air patrols right up to the edge, so to speak, so that it becomes normal. And if we start to see more and more of this from Russia, then they start normalizing those border incursions.
Yeah, Poland has been in the news probably, once a week for the last year, right? And before that, it obviously was less of a subject. But now Poland has been in the news almost every week. It seems like that also could be a really hot point for a kind of a World War scenario mistake, or the thing that triggers it all. Every time I see prime ministers or even the intelligence of a certain country keep kind of popping out with information from NATO, like we saw information like this might happen. When that Russian event happened in that concert hall, I forget, I think that was UK. It was like UK intelligence thinks that there's going to be something like this, and in one case it was the US. Was that the US? I think it was the US. There's been all of these other events where it says this intelligence thinks this. Why do they put it out in public? Like, why do certain things get put out to everybody? And then you usually see that those events, when they put out information like that, something usually happens. And you can't say that they're just all telling the truth and to trust all information coming out from the intelligence. But a lot of those, it's like there's some sort of op going on. That's how I feel. Like there's something happening in the background. There's a reason why they put out top secret information ever. And that would be. If they get something, if they know absolutely something's going to happen, They don't run first to tell the people. I mean, if there was a meteor coming towards Earth right now that was going to destroy us in 2029 on August 8th at 4:30 p.m. Oh, it's 4:28? 4:28 p.m. I totally just made that up. I made that up. Sorry. Would they tell us? No, absolutely not. Of course they wouldn't. They don't rush to us to tell us the truth. They certainly rush to us to cover it. But, again, what do you think's going on there? Heath Spear, thank you from Australia. Thank you for the super chat, and I appreciate you coming. Stephen Click says, what up, guys? Corrupt for prison and watch the Marf. And I'm not saying that because guess what? Someone will take that out of context and replay it and go, I'm part of this, and get a clip of me putting my hand up or something. Watch the Marf channel all the time. I might not say much or I might be late, but I watch almost every video. Well, thank you, Stephen Click. And thank you, Lori Gittens, Carlton Sutton, and Darren, thank you for subscribing. And Parker Craft, thank you for being a member for 7 months. Says anything on flashing parking lots all over. Parking lot lights. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. This is absolutely wild. And I'm going to sound totally crazy, but I'm going to tell you anyways, because that's how I roll. I am telling you, I had the weirdest experience. Dex, did I tell you about the car alarms going off? Did I not tell you about that? It wasn't even car alarms.
I haven't heard that one.
Okay. I was with my entire family, and I went from one parking lot. I'm not going to be specific, but I was essentially at a mall parking lot, and the panic button, not car alarm, panic button went off on one car, and then a panic button on another car went off, and then a panic button on a third car went off. And at first I'm thinking, oh, okay, maybe somebody is clicking their button trying to find their car. It's a mall. But then you guys know the difference between like beep beep or panic, where they accidentally hit the panic button. Then I'm thinking astronomical coincidence. All three people accidentally hit their panic button. They're all doing it. Driving across the street, another one right next to us. Go across the street to, let's say, Target. At the Target, two more happen. And I'm pointing this out to my wife. My wife is just like rolling her eyes like, oh, okay, well, yeah, there's people probably pushing their car button. I said, no, look, listen. Ramp, 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 and then it stops. Ramp, 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 stops. They're the panic button. These are all different cars. Then as my 18-year-old and my 9-year-old are walking forward, I've got my 4-year-old. A lady parks right up in front, gets out to go into, let's say, Target, gets out to walk up, and all of a sudden her car starts doing it. And she's holding her keys. She just got out of the car. She just has her keys still in the hand. And I'm with my 4-year-old. I'm like, hey, did you just push your panic button? She goes, no, I didn't touch him. And she goes, yeah, that's really weird. And right there, I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm asking you guys, what in the hell could cause that? And at first I'm thinking, like, was there some sort of solar event or something that triggered that? Or did somebody have a master key that was trying to steal cars? What could cause that? Dex, did somebody have a garage door opener that had the same frequency?
It could have been somebody playing with frequencies and seeing what would work and what wouldn't work. I've had one of my vehicles in the past, when I would click the lock, it just so happened it was the same frequency as a car next to me to set off their panic alarm. I'm not saying that's what happened, but
well, because it felt like it was following our car.
Yeah, and it can happen, but I think the newer one's a little bit more secure. But still, there are tools out there that people use to scan your key fobs. When you click it, they scan it to pick up that code so that they can unlock and steal your car, or at least unlock and go through your car after you leave.
Whoa.
So people could be playing with those scan tools and or testing them or just using them, and it just happens to be sent. The code is so strong it's hitting lots of cars in the area that may share frequency.
Holy crap, because this was in where thousands of cars are parked at the mall. That totally makes more logical sense than aliens were following me or the feds. Okay. And that's what I thought first. Like, that was my go-to. I totally thought it was, yeah, I totally thought that.
Yeah, that's a big, who was it? The off-grid bags that we have on our site. They have those little key fob protectors. So if you're really worried about your key fob being hijacked, as they call it, by one of those scanners that's out there. You can put it in the little, Faraday bag, the mini bag that's made for a keychain, and then you pop your keychain out, unlock your car, and pop it right back in, so they can't walk by you in a grocery store and scan the RFIDs off of your key fob.
Okay, because it was so far away. I was like, how could this be happening across the street? And when the lady looked at her key in surprise and like shock, I was like, no way. I was like, that's confirmation right there that I'm not crazy. All these different cars are doing it. And my first thought was solar. Like, is something going on with solar? Or it was like 5th generation stuff. But then I thought about it. Yeah, you're totally right. Like, and this is a place where people break into cars. If they're doing the panic button, maybe they're trying to do unlock button. Like, they're trying to unlock, go in and grab stuff, right? They're probably just like a universal remote. They're probably scanning the codes, trying to get the code that opens up the car. Or they're trying to steal nice cars. Because it seemed to me like it was all new nice cars.
Or they're running the codes and they listen to the cars that respond, and then they know, okay, well, I've got a code that's good for this one. What's the rest of the codes to get to the unlock? Maybe there's some algorithm to it. I don't know.
That's crazy. But so somebody was standing around, probably a criminal within my 50-yard radius, doing this. That's so crazy. All right. Okay, then I'm not crazy. All right. I feel good. And then greedy LA landlords and realtors accused of price gouging rent. Get this, as much as 134% after devastating fires. So it's really bad here, like horrible. Like most people cannot survive here in the Seattle area. And you, of course, got just the most insane rents ever. I can't imagine, because LA is almost the same down there. And now you've got up 134%. Dex, like that's such a huge increase.
It makes me wonder, like, which large companies own most of these rental properties or have the investment money that's in all of these, funds that are owning the majority of the rental properties down there. But yeah, I mean, imagine if the rent was like, $3,000 a month, which is astronomical already, and now it's $6,000 a month because a week after the fires. Now I get it, supply and demand. You just displaced a whole lot of people that don't have homes, that are all looking for homes, and there probably wasn't a lot of empty homes available. So of course everybody's going to be in demand for a rental property, but for them to just go up 134%. That's got to be very difficult for, maybe not be difficult for the elite coming out of their fancy Pacific Palisade homes, but it's definitely going to be difficult for the others around there that are trying to, get by on a, $17 an hour McDonald's job.
And on a totally unrelated note, I wanted to show you a picture of black rocks. I just think they're pretty. I guess we will see, right? And then 1987, laser ignition device and its application to forestry, fire, and land management. So, again, this is, mine isn't, my screen, it just went blank. Dex, I can't actually see what I just put up. So, I'll have you cover this one.
Yeah, so we'll just leave this here for you guys to look at. Back in 1987, they developed this technology. It was meant for the application of forestry, specifically to do what we just said a second ago, a laser ignition device, meant to then eventually be used up to 1,500 meters and even further, and going to be airborne by the summer of 1988 and truck-mounted by 87. So we'll just leave it there. You guys can read the information. We're not implying anything here at all, but this is back in the 80s, so imagine what you can do today.
Yeah, imagine, so, and they, with the truck mounted version, right? So imagine something like that driving down, they could literally do this kind of stuff from anywhere. That's truck mounted back in 87. Heck, 40 years later, what are they doing now? Well, most of us know, most of us have a theory that pretty much the DoD has confirmed that they have this kind of stuff in space, that they could target pretty much anything and make it burn. I think the two most obvious examples are the two amphibious assault ships that caught fire for 5 days. One being a U.S. amphibious assault carrier, and the other being a Chinese amphibious assault carrier. Basically a tit for tat. 3 months apart, both in port, not at war, both catching fire and staying on fire for over 3 or 4 days. Seems like a big, obvious things like that happen, and I don't know how people can't really put it together. Heidi Patrick, thanks for the noob emote. Thank you. And Alan Dua, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate that. Thank you guys for supporting Independent. That's hilarious. And then Dan, thank you for subscribing. And Susan, thank you for subscribing. Laura, thank you. And Nathaniel Williams, thank you for subscribing. And before we move on, make sure to go check out Grid Down. This is an awesome company. They are now making the Bug Out. Now, if you haven't seen the Bug Out, I actually will have mine in hand pretty soon here, so I'm going to do a review on it. But the reason why we waited for the Bug Outs is that this was actually, we were waiting to hold off on this because these are working directly with EMP Shield. They actually are all protected, so everyone that you get is actually EMP Shield protected right off the bat. That means all of the systems, including the original, the head unit with 1.69 kilowatt hours, if you get an XP, which actually totals over 4,000 kilowatt hours just with one extension, all of it is protected against EMPs, CMEs, Carrington level events, all of that. And this is a super beefy unit. It can be put right into an RV. It can be put right into your house. Again, these things can go anywhere. They're portable, but they are also extremely powerful. They have a high capacity, 6,000 peak and 3,000 continuous. So very, very, very beefy unit, and they are extremely well made. They're built like tanks, and again, you can actually extend it and do a whole house if you want. Because not only can you get the portable units, you can actually do the walls. You have the power walls, which are absolutely awesome. These things can basically outfit an entire house or a cabin or a mansion. Doesn't matter what it is, they can outfit it. So now you have the ability to get the big dogs. You don't want to have to, I know some people that tried to do whole houses in smaller systems. If you want to go big, you would go with the power walls. Go to marfuglenews.com/bugout and make sure to use the code MARF. This isn't going to work for everybody. Some people will want smaller, but again, for those of you that wanted bigger, this is the answer. It's got a 30 amp. It's got 4 AC plugs. It's got 4 USB, 2C and 2A. This thing is really, really cool. So go check it out. It is the new lithium ion phosphate as well. That is a huge deal. If you look at the older battery technology, these last longer. They have more charges. It's just a better deal in general. All right. And again, marfuglenews.com/bugout and code MARF. And Japan faces likely devastating megaquake in the next 30 years, says experts. What's funny is this is kind of like history repeating itself. If you remember on the show, we talked about how Japan's president actually canceled trips. And that was because there was a new warning that said that they were due to have a 9+ earthquake at some point. I mean, we're talking about superquake. It's just like the Boxing Day quake or their previous quake, which was an absolutely monstrous tsunami, right? Well, they're saying that the probability of a megaquake hitting Japan that could trigger enormous tsunamis and kill hundreds of thousands of people is now 82%. To put that in perspective, that is giant. Cascadia subduction zone in the next 50 years, they said, and this has been changing, but they were down to like 15%, then they were up to, some sources were up to 43%, some said 30% in the next 50 years. And then, of course, some people that I talk to, actual people that have, TEDx talks on it and are experts in the field, they said it was a lot higher than that. In fact, higher than this. But publicly, usually you get a really low percent as far as if it's going to happen. 82% is pretty insane. That almost makes sense of why he canceled his trips, because something big must have went down that they found this out. Now, months later, more stuff is coming out. Like, that's really funky. 8.0 and up is so ginormous. I mean, 7.0 is enough to, if it happened in Seattle, a 7.1, they said that the whole pier, like the pier of Seattle, if you've ever visited the historic Pike Place Market or the piers where all that stuff, they said that that would have all been gone and in the sea if we had a 7.0 when we had the Nisqually. So put that in perspective, it is astronomically bigger at an 8. Then you go up to, 8, 8.7, 9. Each point is going to go up at every time. It is timesing by this many and this many. It is so incredibly big. 9.0 earthquake would last more than 5 minutes. So it is really insane that they are putting a number like 82% chance in the coming years. Dex, what would you... I wouldn't want to live anywhere with an 82% chance of it happening. Like that, in them telling the public that too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just the tsunami threat alone is what's the most worrisome. I get that, for the most part, most of their modern cities and stuff have been designed to withstand that. So you might have a little bit more comfort knowing that they've been very forward thinking in their construction there. But yeah, from the low-lying areas, I'd be petrified. At 82% in 30 years, yeah, that's just like any day now.
And think about how fast that goes. I mean, like if you live there, I mean, in your lifetime, you're going to experience. The best place to be in that is going to be in a skyscraper. If you didn't see this, and I would worry about that too. What would be going through my head if I was in a super tall skyscraper is, did the last 9.0 earthquake affect it so bad to where, yeah, it survived that, but is it going to survive another one? Probably. They cut checks way ahead of time. They didn't wait until it was broken to fix it. Japan culturally says, hey, we're going to spend $1 billion on this project that's not even going to benefit us. It's going to benefit our grandkids. And they'll do it because they actually look at it like that. Whereas here, we'll say, screw our grandkids. We'll be dead by the time this happens. In this case, I would want to be in a high-rise. I would want to be on a skyscraper. And even if you're looking at the ground, like there were people in the 9.0 before, in the 2011, that were seeing the ground. Imagine being in a skyscraper, holding onto the window, and the whole building is leaning towards the ground. Like you can look straight down and see ground. That is horrifying. I get shivers just thinking about it. But that would be the safest place. Because if this big one hits, and if you look at the area compared to the last one, this one could send an even bigger wall of water towards major cities. Not to mention it will send a wall of water that could possibly head towards us. It's kind of crazy, Dex, that our big one over here, the Cascadia, sent them a small tsunami, and that their big tsunami sent us a small tsunami. So it's like both sides of it. Japan has a freaking 9.0. It sends us one. We have a 9.0, and we send them one.
Well, it also makes you wonder, like, if they actually have their megaquake before Cascadia, and it's any day now, within the next 30 years, but literally any day now, how much of that could actually, cause Cascadia to go off because of the not the reverberation, but isn't there like this events that go back and forth across the plate there through the Pacific and around the ring?
So they say that any tectonic plate that's shifting that much is going to affect the whole thing. Is, if you think about it, if you had a tennis ball and you put pieces of paper all around it, but they were all interconnected, you move one, it's going to move the rest. It's all going to move. So if you look at the Ring of Fire here, look, you go up this is considered the Ring of Fire. Go up here. This is where the Cascadia is. And if you zoom in, this wrong place. So this is it. You can actually see it, right? This zigzag right here, this is the end of it. That's the beginning of California. So it goes from here all the way up here, all the way up, and it goes into British Columbia or Vancouver right here. So this whole thing is going to rip. So almost, 4 areas, 3 states and a province are all going to be shifting. So if something shifts over there, I hope that something massive doesn't happen over here. But that big of an earthquake, you know, they say can change the time of day. It can change the wobble of the planet. So put that into your noggin. So hopefully, in the end, experts like Chris Goldfinger have said, I said, hey, can an earthquake cause another earthquake, which now is accepted. They said 30 years ago, we would have said you're crazy. Now it's called a fact. Not only that, it can cause a volcano. And can a volcano cause an earthquake? Absolutely. And a big earthquake over here could cause a big earthquake somewhere else. And again, it's pretty much all connected, just how you'd think it would be. So yeah, hopefully this isn't connected. Watch, I bet you that America wouldn't put out this information. What if Cascadia has similar numbers, which I think it does. I think it absolutely does, but they're not going to put it out publicly. And Dex, go over.
Could you imagine what would happen to the land value in Seattle if that was public knowledge? Like 80% chance in 30 years. Like, it would just be a mass exodus, and all the money that is there. Gosh, that would be.
Move.
It's already been bad with what's happened to downtown, but yeah, could you just imagine the rest of it?
So, and if you don't know, if you're not from here, downtown Seattle is a ghost town. There's like no businesses. There's no nothing. You'll see bars down there, but even those, there's half of the bars there were 10 years ago or whatever. All of the small businesses, if it's not a mini mart, it's most likely not around. Or the mini marts, it's just like walking into prison or something. Half of them have glass, thick windows and stuff. But most of the businesses have left. All of the big chain retail places, they don't want to be around. Nobody wants to be down there because it's absolutely horrid. There's nothing but it's an open air drug market. It's really bad. So as far as like how bad that is, I couldn't imagine if that happened. I would love it though, because then rent would go back to normal. Like if everybody just moved the heck out of here, I would be cool with it. But again, and then for the inauguration, this is really crazy. We just went from the ring of fire to a ring of steel. They are, of course, putting up this massive kind of structure around the White House. And for this one, they're tightening down on security like there is going to be an event. And that's what I think people should pay attention to, especially with all of the chatter of the last 2 months and all of the talk of attacks across the nation with the stuff that surrounds him, 2 attempts on his life. I bet they are not playing with that day. And you would think with all of this protection and all of these precautions being taken, you would think, oh, well, he's going to be safe. But we would all think that they would check a roof across the street too, right? So, think about that. Like, Dex, you would think, like, with all of these things being put into place, that everything would be okay. But it's like, obviously, the last 2 times, things happened that should have never happened, and were very suspicious.
Yeah, how can he trust the Secret Service right now? I mean, that's the scary part, because he's walking in but not in charge, right? So he has no authority before. I mean, I'm sure there's he's not not in communication with him. He's got a detail around him, and they've got planning and all this other stuff. But ultimately, he's not the sitting president. And he's waiting, and he's got to trust that organization, which failed him significantly
twice
for this big event. 250,000 people. How are they going to screen 250,000 people? And, I remember the first time he went, the first inaug, everybody was complaining they couldn't get in. And it was a conspiracy that, they were held back, and they were all stuck out in the street, not allowed into the mall area. But I don't know. This is just so ripe for opportunity, for bad things to happen. It's really going to be a pucker up day for sure.
And they say, we've been planning this event for 12 months long with our partners, and it's an ever-changing threat environment, so we stay flexible. If we see that, hey, we need to shore up this particular checkpoint up, we do that, said Special Agent in Charge William Matt McCool. Matt McCool of the U.S. Secret Service Field Office in the nation's capital. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we need to shore that up. Yeah, that guy with the rifle, we probably should shore that up, huh? Oh, we shouldn't? Oh, okay. Should we give him an all-access pass? Oh, we should. Okay. Oh, well, just give it to McCool, okay? The guy's cool. Mick Cool. Dex, go ahead.
Well, on one hand, I think we can sort of rule out the theory that something massive, like a giant event that would happen, like a boom boom or something, because you are going to have a lot of people there in the sense of the JB will be there, his wife will be there, Kamala and her husband, Barack, George W will be there, and even Bill will be there with Hill. And even Laura Bush will be there. So there's a lot. There's one missing person that's not there who also wasn't at the funeral. But I'll digress from that for now, because there's a lot of people speculating there may be some trouble on the home front there with the O's. But
Mike?
But nonetheless, yeah,
no, yeah.
We don't know what's up with that one, right?
Yeah, I know. And so also with that whole thing, right? Oh, yeah, well, watch. It won't be some massive thing. Watch, they say that his blood pressure was too high and he was so excited he had a, heart event or something. I would think that if he had anything like that, like somebody, all those people there, somebody slipped him something and it made it look like something else, no one would believe it. Absolutely no one would. But again, I know that a lot of people are praying that there's no really big event that day. There's a lot of talk, especially today. I mean, you've got AJ and others talking about a potential event happening that day. Yeah. And then 6 days before this happened, I want to remind people, we just covered this. DJI, the drone maker. Oh, Dex, did you get the article I sent you? I sent it on, I think, Telegram. Check this out.
Grab it.
Check this out. This is so wild. So it's just 6 days ago or something like that, 6 days before this, just a few days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, DJI turned off the no-fly zones for all of their drones. All of them. Just turned it off. And they said, you're responsible for your own thing. So if you fly over an airport, if you fly over a military base, it's on you. If they catch you, that's on you. It still records the same data, but physically, if somebody wanted to strap, something bad to a drone and fly it over something, they can. And I wonder how they are going to address that for this day, because if you think about this, yeah, maybe they have shored this event up so much that they're like, oh, well, the only way we could possibly do it is from air, but any plane would be taken down by the White House defense system. So what, could you get smaller stuff in there? So I wonder if they're going to have smaller drone protection systems in place at this thing, especially since if somebody like us, can figure out that the drones now can fly in there, any drone, then you would think the White House would have figured that out. Is that going to be a huge gap? And they're going to say afterwards, like, how did they not know this?
Well, and Adam, that article you're looking for is up next. How are they going to react? Like when all of a sudden a drone is spotted going over the mall, over a lot of people, are they going to wait it out? Are they going to think about it? Are they going to treat it like the balloon and say, well, we'll wait till it's away from the people and then maybe we'll shoot it down, right? Over water, we can blow it. Never mind the fact that it traversed the entire country. Are they going to react fast or are they going to do something? And then what is that reaction? What technology are they going to show us? Are they gonna, be firing something up that takes it out? Are they gonna be launching nets? Do they have anti-drone drones that are gonna be going after it? That will be interesting to see. But the fact that just like you said 6 days ago, all these things could never possibly do this. If there was a no-fly zone, it would not fly. You couldn't even go into it. right? And it was all based on data that the FAA was pumping out. If they changed the no-fly zone, then boom, all the drones would get the updated information. That's all been wiped away, and you're free to go. They just look at the data and say, man, you shouldn't be flying here, but you still can.
Yeah, it is one of the most suspicious changes out there, and I don't hear them talking about it at all for inauguration. Why? And again, that video, if you share anything, share that one, because like that should get around to everybody. Now this is wild. So if you know drones, this is a 249 gram mini DJI, right? They specifically make it 249 grams so you don't have to register it. This was flying above the fires in California, and it struck a plane, a firefighting plane. I forget what they call it, a super scooper. So it was that's the big plane, isn't it? It left a significant hole in the left wing, right? Luckily, nobody perished and this thing didn't crash. But hitting a drone like this, or if this goes in a big commercial jet or something in the engine, it's just as bad as a bird strike, which we saw with what happened with a bird strike in South Korea, which I also pointed out, like, that was weird. The landing gear didn't work. It had a bird strike, low level, and, you know, smashed right into the wall, had this horrible, horrible event. Right after, you know, there was like kind of a tit for tat scenario where they did something to their enemies, right? In this case, this little thing ended up causing all that damage. And now they're questioning Ben Affleck. And here's another kind of angle on this. They were going to, what was this neighborhood called? I forget it. It's a really fancy neighborhood in LA. Trying to find. What is the dang neighborhood? It says, ongoing emergency operations at the Palisades fire near Malibu, California. It wasn't that, though. It's where Ben Affleck lives. So they wanted to get Ben Affleck's surveillance footage so that they might identify the drone operator. And I'm like, oh, Brentwood, the Brentwood residence of actor Ben Affleck. So they believe, and the only reason they would be asking Ben Affleck is they believe it happened right next to his house. I'm not saying Ben Affleck is the criminal here. What I'm saying is if they're going into a neighborhood that has a house owned by Ben Affleck, that this is an extremely rich neighborhood. You're telling me some super rich guy or somebody who was sneaking into the super rich neighborhood of Brentwood flew a drone up and then this thing hit it? Was this just a very rich guy that flew the drone up? And by the way, it's not registered with the FAA, so they don't know whose it is. That's why it's important it's 249 grams. All the smaller ones, now you don't have to. This thing flies up. Was this some sort of thing that was possibly done somewhat on purpose by some, is this going to be something that happens in the near future now that DJI's turned off these no-fly zones? You can fly over anything, which, man, I mean, as a drone flyer, it's super cool to have that because a lot of the times the no-fly zone is in the stupidest areas that there is no danger. There's fly zones for everything. And it will not let you take off at all. Now that's just gone. Super suspicious. Dex, go ahead.
Hey, Brentwood, isn't that OJ's neighborhood?
Oh, it's nice. I mean, it's one of
that's where the OJ thing was, right?
Yeah, it's up there. All the houses are multi-millions. So, what was somebody in that neighborhood doing? I don't know. And
they were being elitist, flying their drone.
Yeah,
thinking
right?
They could just do whatever they wanted. Oh, never mind that plane coming in. That's more important.
Well, and can you imagine you fly it up, you see a huge super scooper going over, and then, and we saw videos of people in those neighborhoods, like, with those huge and those videos were taken by firefighters. So who was there that took that video? Could have even been a firefighter. Like, that's another question. Will they find out it's a firefighter? And then Searcher07, thank you. Thanks for the support. Thank you for supporting Independent. I appreciate you. Nathaniel Williams says, came over. Hey, thank you, and thank you. Alan Dua, Heidi Patrick, Nathaniel Williams, and Heath Spear from Australia. Appreciate that. Again, make sure to go check out Jace if you can. Just go. You can actually get all of the life-saving antibiotics all in one kit. This is a great kit because it has not only antibiotics, but you can add on things like albuterol, emergency inhalers, and other medications in a handy kit. Go to marfooglenews.com/Jace, Jase, and make sure to use the code MARF. You'll get a savings, and you will end up preparing yourself for anything. All right, and Dex, go ahead.
Hey, speaking of famous Bens that are actors, did you see the presidential portrait that came out today? And if you haven't, you should, because it's definitely got that Ben Stiller, not Affleck, but Zoolander look that he likes to do.
I saw it like literally the size of a pinky nail on X. Can you grab a picture of it? Is it something we can show?
Oh yeah, we can show it. I don't have it. I'll look for it. Give me a minute.
Is it kind of like, the what was it, the royal picture that came out of Prince Charles or King Charles?
No, these are photographs, so it's not a painting, but it's just that facial, it's the camera's high to low shot on the Don with that, that Ben Stiller, what is it, Zoolander look that he likes to do.
Oh, Blue Steel?
Yeah, Blue Steel. Not over the top Blue Steel, but the Don Blue Steel.
Oh, okay. I gotta see this. Hold on. So what is it called? It's
just search official presidential portrait. It came out.
Oh,
today.
Okay. I gotta see this. Wait, I laughed and I'm not even looking at the right one. Okay, hold on. Is this the right one? I don't know if I have the right one. Official presidential portrait. Oh, I should have Trump.
It should have him and JD. And it's funny because the Don is up close and JD is off in the distance with his arms crossed. Two totally different pictures.
Is this it? No, this can't be it, is it? I don't see JD. I don't see JD Vance. But I'm also I'm trying to use DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo is not as good at finding images, but gosh, it's so much better. No, I can't find it. If you have a link to it, grab it. Well, I'll put it up in the shoutro. The Blue Steel, that's hilarious.
It's in up next.
Okay, thanks. All right, let's see here.
Wait.
Oh my gosh.
There it is.
Okay. Wait. Was he trying to copy his mugshot on purpose?
I think that's just a standard look for a camera.
Oh my gosh, that is kind of funny. JD was, and I know this from my own hair, he was a couple days past a haircut. But maybe that was on purpose. That is totally Blue Steel.
Well, what's funny is when they first put it out, the one I just sent you shows both of them, their faces cropped in. But when they first put it out, it was just the Don's face cropped in, but JD was back in the distance. It's the same shot, but his arms are crossed, so it was like more of a half body torso as opposed to just a headshot. I don't know where that one is, but that's what I saw earlier in the day.
Oh, that's crazy. JD's eyes are super blue. Gosh, I wonder if are those contacts? Like, how do you get eyes that blue? That's crazy. Dude eats his carrots. All right. And thank you, Searcher07, I believe. Top supporter tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for supporting Independent. Make sure to support our mods. Drop an M in the chat and also go over to marfooglenews.com/friends. You can find all of our awesome mods down there. You have everybody from Wages, Trinity, Ilea, RGL, Rip, Lisar Hall, Jammer, Optical, CJ Blaze, Chance, and of course Bones. Great people, and then underneath that you have a whole list of channels that we think you should check out. So make sure to go do so. And hit Survival Living Up. He is, of course, got tons of great stuff coming out. And of course, you have the other one, highly recommend, Jacob Israel. If you haven't checked him out, definitely has great stuff. So make sure to go check him out. Much love. Dex, thank you so much for your service today.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And you guys have a wonderful night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Running in my yard and don't think that they got far. I got a 4 or 5 and it really bangs hard. Although 911, I think an alien. I blew up over my house, now a million. I'm running in my yard and don't think that they got far. I got a 4 or 5 and it really bangs hard. Although